John Miller straightened his plain blue suit as he approached the speaker's podium. The vast chamber of the Galactic Council stretched before him, filled with hundreds of alien representatives from across the known universe. Their bodies came in all shapes and sizes, from the towering insectoid Krevlax to the floating gas bubble bodies of the Mist Collective. Today would be his last time addressing them. Today, humanity would walk away. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council, John began, his voice calm despite the gravity of his message. For 300 years, humans have been part of this interstellar community. We have shared our knowledge, worked alongside your scientists, healed your sick, and helped build the infrastructure that connects our civilizations. Several council members shifted in their seats. The Vordeni representative, High Chancellor Zex Toril, stared at John with 6 unblinking eyes. Yet for 300 years, humans have been classified as a developing species. We have been denied equal voting rights. Our advice has been ignored until crisis forces you to listen. Our innovations have been claimed by others. A murmur spread through the chamber. John waited for it to quiet before continuing. Therefore, it is my duty to inform you that Earth and all human colonies will withdraw from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. We will complete our withdrawal within 1 standard galactic year. The chamber erupted. Representatives jumped to their feet, some shouting, others emitting high-pitched whistles or releasing pheromones of alarm. The council president, a tall, willowy being with silver skin, raised all 4 of her arms for silence. Representative Miller, she said, surely this is an emotional outburst that can be resolved through proper channels. Humanity's contributions, while notable in certain fields, do not justify such a dramatic response to what are merely administrative classifications. John smiled slightly. This is not an emotional decision, Madam President. It is the unanimous choice of Earth's government and all human colonies. We have prepared for this moment for the past decade. And what of your obligations? Demanded Zex Toril, his voice booming across the chamber. The medical facilities on Proxima Centauri, the engineering cores maintaining the quantum communication network, the agricultural projects feeding billions. All operations will be properly documented and transferred to council control within the year, John replied. We will leave nothing without proper handover protocols. The Araxian representative, a being covered in iridescent scales, laughed, a hissing sound that echoed in the chamber. And where will humanity go? Back to hiding in your single star system. You need us more than we need you. John didn't take the bait. We will focus on our own development in our own way. The Sol system has abundant resources that we've barely tapped while serving council interests. You'll be back, Zex Toril said, mandibles clicking in what passed for amusement among his kind. When pirates raid your shipping lanes and diseases ravage your worlds, you'll return begging for protection. John simply nodded. That is your prediction, Chancellor. Time will tell. As John stepped away from the podium, Ambassador Clecia of the Araxian Collective leaned toward her aide. The humans are bluffing, she whispered, scales shimmering in the chamber's light. They'll return begging for remittance within a decade. John heard the comment with his enhanced hearing. Another human innovation the council had dismissed as unnecessary. He didn't react. Walking down the long, curved corridor away from the council chamber, John felt lighter than he had in years. The massive doors of the chamber closed behind him with a deep, resonant sound. His communication device buzzed. A message from Earth. Withdrawal announcement confirmed. Phase 1 initiated. John looked back one last time at the ornate doors of the council chamber. 300 years of being underestimated and overlooked was enough. It was time for humanity to walk its own path. The stars would be waiting when the council finally realized what they had lost. 6 months after John Miller's announcement, Captain Lisa Grant stood on the observation deck of the human outpost on Proxima Centauri II. Through the large viewing window, she watched as her crew loaded equipment into transport ships. The once bare, rocky landscape around the base had patches of green and blue, signs of the terraforming work humans had accomplished over decades. Status report, Lisa asked, not turning from the window. Her second-in-command, Eric Powell, consulted his tablet. We're at 83% completion, Captain. The medical equipment is packed. We're still dismantling the atmospheric processors. Lisa nodded. And the locals? The Proximan delegation is waiting in Conference Room C. This is their third visit this week. Lisa sighed and straightened her uniform. I suppose I should talk to them again. In the conference room, 5 Proximans waited. They had long, thin bodies with 4 arms and skin that changed color with their emotions. Right now, they were all displaying worried shades of purple and gray. Captain Grant, said the lead Proximan, Governor Zilks, I bring new authority from the Council. We can offer double the resource rights in the Centauri Belt if you reconsider this withdrawal. Lisa shook her head. Governor, as I've explained, this isn't a negotiation. The decision has been made by Earth Central. But the terraforming project is only half complete, another Proximan said, skin flashing anxious yellow. The atmospheric balance will fail without human maintenance. We've left complete documentation, Lisa replied. And we're training your engineers. They'll be able to continue the work. It's not the same, Zilk said, deflating slightly. Your people have an intuition for living systems that our scientists lack. Lisa felt a pang of sympathy, but kept her face neutral. I'm sorry, Governor. All human personnel and equipment will be gone within 30 days as scheduled. Across Council space, similar scenes played out. On the medical research station orbiting Ta Ceti, Dr. Frank Warren supervised the packing of genetic sequencers and vaccine development labs. On Rigel VI, engineer Paul Cooper trained alien technicians to maintain the mining equipment his team had designed. Back on Earth, Director Alan Pierce worked in the command center of the Withdrawal Coordination Bureau. Screens covered the walls, tracking the movements of thousands of ships bringing humans and their assets back to the Sol system. Sir, called an aide, we have another message from the Council Economic Advisory Board. Alen rubbed his tired eyes. What do they want now? They're predicting a 16% drop in galactic productivity if we complete withdrawal. They're offering new terms, full voting rights for human representatives in specialized committees. Alan shook his head. Send the standard response. The terms haven't changed. Nearby, his assistant Diane Rogers was reviewing housing assignments for returning colonists. The Neptune habitats are ready for the Rigel returnees, she reported. And we've expanded the Mars underground cities to accommodate the medical staff from the Ta Ceti station. Alan nodded. Good. What about the Jupiter shipyards? Running at full capacity. They've completed the first phase of the expansion project. In the council chambers, far from Earth, emergency sessions had become routine. Chancellor Zex Toril addressed the gathered representatives. Our analysts assure me that council technology will adapt to human absence, he said confidently. We managed the galaxy before they joined us, and we will continue without them. Yet privately, several council members had begun to worry. The humans were withdrawing with remarkable efficiency, leaving everything in perfect order yet taking with them something that couldn't be documented or transferred, their unique approach to solving problems. Ambassador Cliché received a report from her intelligence agents in the Sol system. The humans are not suffering, she told her concerned colleagues. They appear to be celebrating. As night fell over the Proxima Centauri outpost, Lisa Grant made a final inspection round. Most of the buildings were already empty, their contents packed into the fleet of ships hovering above. Tomorrow, another piece of humanity's galactic presence would disappear. She paused at the edge of a small garden, the last patch of earth plants that had once been the start of a vast terraforming project. Bending down, she picked a single flower and tucked it into her pocket. Some things were worth remembering. 2 years had passed since the last human ship departed from Council space. The Grand Council chamber, once alive with heated debates about humanity's withdrawal, now faced a different crisis. Medical Director Vrelnak stood before the council, her slender form trembling slightly. As a nebulan, her transparent skin revealed the troubled flow of fluids in her body. "The Taurian respiratory plague has returned," she announced. "We have confirmed outbreaks in 17 systems. The death toll has reached 30,000. Chancellor Zextoral leaned forward on his perch. "But this disease was cured decades ago. How can it return?" Vrelnax shifted uncomfortably. "The human-developed vaccines are failing. We followed their production protocols, but something is wrong. The vaccines are only 30% effective now." Murmurs spread through the chamber. "It seems," Vrelnax continued, "that certain steps in the vaccine synthesis were always performed by humans with a special touch. Their notes describe the process, but when our scientists follow the exact same steps, the results are different." Ambassador Cleish's scales darkened. "Did they sabotage the process deliberately?" "No," Vrelnax replied firmly. "We have found no evidence of that. Their documentation is complete and honest, but there appears to be something in their technique that they themselves did not fully understand, something they could not document because it was intuitive to them." On the mining colony of Rigel VI, Overseer Durek faced a crowd of angry miners. The massive underground cavern echoed with their shouts. "The quota is impossible," yelled one worker, pounding a rocky fist on a broken drill. "The machines fail every few days. When the humans were here, they worked for months without stopping." Durek raised his 4 arms for quiet. "The council has sent their best engineers. They are studying the human designs." "Studying won't help," growled another miner. "Those humans had a way with machines. They talked to them, felt when something was wrong before it broke." Later that day, in a private council session, Jozin of the Deltaran hegemony rose to speak. Unlike most council members, the Deltarans had maintained friendly relations with humans for centuries. "I propose we establish diplomatic relations with Earth," Jozin said, his voice resonating from multiple speaking organs along his spine. "Not to beg their return, but to open channels for limited cooperation." Chancellor Zextoral's mandibles clicked in irritation. "The humans made their choice. Let them sit in their isolation while we solve these minor problems." "Minor?" Jozin challenged. "The plague spreads. Production falls. The transport network experiences increasing delays. These are not minor issues. Council technology will adapt and improve," Zextoral insisted. "I have authorized additional funding for reverse engineering human systems. We will surpass their innovations soon." After the session, Jozin met secretly with 3 other representatives in a quiet chamber. "The Chancellor refuses to see reality," said Ambassador Lore of the Pleiadian Alliance. "My people's ship factories cannot match the efficiency we had with human engineers. My government has attempted to send private messages to Earth," added Representative Sewell, "a floating orb of light from the Antares sphere. They do not respond to unofficial communications." Gaozin nodded. "They are focusing inward. Our intelligence reports massive construction projects throughout their home system. They appear to be thriving in isolation." On Earth, the withdrawal committee met in a sunlit room overlooking the rebuilt city of New San Francisco. The holographic displays showed data from across the solar system. "The Jupiter shipyards have doubled production," reported Sam Lewis, Director of Solar System Development. "The Mars terraforming project is 50 years ahead of schedule, and the Venus cloud cities are now home to 2 million people." Committee Chair Grace Wilson nodded with satisfaction. "And our monitoring of council space." "As predicted," replied Intelligence Officer Ben Adams. "The Taurian plague has reemerged. Several mining colonies face production collapses. They're struggling to maintain the systems we built." "Have they asked for our help?" asked another member. "Not officially," Ben answered. "Chancellor Zextoral blocks any formal outreach, but unofficial channels show growing discontent." Grace looked around the table at her colleagues. "Then we continue as planned. Phase 3 begins next month." Outside the window, Construction drones swarmed around a massive new structure rising from the Pacific Ocean, humanity building its future with the same ingenuity the Council had always underestimated. 5 years had passed since humanity withdrew from Council space. The once busy trading hub at Arcturus Station sat half empty, its wide corridors echoing with the footsteps of the few traders who still came. Station Administrator Kelver walked through the main market hall, past shuttered shops and quiet loading bays. Before the humans left, this place had been filled with merchants from 100 worlds. Now only a quarter of the stalls remained open. Another financial system failure, Administrator, reported his assistant, holding out a datapad. 3 more banking guilds have collapsed this quarter. Kelver sighed, his gray skin darkening with stress. How? We followed all the procedures the humans left behind. The procedures work, sir. But when market conditions change, the system doesn't adapt like it did when human financial experts were here. They made constant small adjustments that weren't in any manual. Across Council space, similar problems mounted. On the water world of Aquila Prime, the atmospheric regulators that kept the underwater cities safe began failing. On the transport hub at Sickness Cross, the automated routing systems developed strange glitches that caused increasing delays. At the Council headquarters, an emergency session had been called. The chamber was only 2/3 full. Many representatives had been recalled by their governments to deal with local crises. "This can't continue," said Representative Morrow of the Centaurian Alliance, her feathered crest rising with agitation. "My people face food shortages because the agricultural systems are producing at half capacity." Chancellor Zextoral's mandibles clicked nervously. 5 years ago, he had confidently predicted a smooth transition after the human departure. Now his political position weakened daily. "Our best scientists are working on solutions," he insisted. "The Council has survived greater challenges." "Has it?" challenged Zhao Zhen. "We've discovered that humans maintained critical infrastructure throughout Council space, systems so basic we never noticed their importance until they began failing. It's like removing small stones from a foundation until the entire building becomes unstable." On Earth, Karen Johnson stood in the observation dome of the Lunar Monitoring Station. As Earth's former ambassador and now head of the monitoring office, she tracked the growing problems in Council space. A young analyst approached her. "Ma'am, we've received 7 more unofficial messages from Council members today. They're trying every channel to reach us." Karen nodded. "Same requests?" "Yes, ma'am. They're asking for technical advisors, especially for the quantum communication network and medical systems." Karen watched the Earth hanging in the black sky above them. In the 5 years since withdrawal, humanity had transformed their home system. The orbital rings around Earth glittered with habitats and manufacturing centers. The Mars colonies had expanded across a quarter of the planet's surface. The asteroid belt buzzed with mining operations. "Have they offered any official concessions?" she asked. "No, ma'am. Chancellor Zextoral still blocks any formal recognition of our concerns, but several species are hinting they might break from the Council to establish bilateral relations." Karen smiled slightly. "Just as we predicted. Prepare a report for the committee. Phase 4 may begin earlier than planned." At that moment, in the outer reaches of the Sol system, massive structures took shape near Jupiter. Council spy ships, maintaining distant observation, reported back with confusion and alarm. "They appear to be constructing something enormous," reported the spy master to the Council's Intelligence Committee. "Our analysts cannot determine its purpose, but the scale is beyond anything we've seen before." Ambassador Clecia, who had once predicted humans would come crawling back within a decade, now looked at the images with growing unease. "They're not struggling in isolation as we expected. They're evolving." In secret sessions, 7 major Council species admitted they were experiencing economic recessions. Trade routes that had functioned smoothly for centuries now faced delays and breakdowns. The complex web of galactic commerce, once taken for granted, revealed its fragility. On Earth, the Withdrawal Committee reviewed the reports with quiet satisfaction. Their patient strategy was working. The same council that had dismissed humanity as developing was beginning to understand just how much they had depended on human innovation and intuition. "Send word to the Jupiter Project," ordered Committee Chair Grace Wilson. "Tell them to proceed to the final stage. It's almost time to receive visitors." 10 years after humanity walked away, the Galactic Council faced its greatest crisis. Throughout Council space, the quantum stabilization network that enabled faster-than-light communications began to fail. On the central communications hub at Vega Prime, Chief Engineer Oza frantically worked with her team as system after system went offline. Her 6 limbs moved in blur across multiple control panels. "We're losing connection to the Orient sector," called one of her assistants. "That's the 3rd sector this week." Oz's eye stalks drooped with exhaustion. For months, they had fought to maintain the network, but the degradation was accelerating. "Did the human documentation explain any of this?" she asked. Her assistant shook his head. "They left detailed maintenance protocols, but those stopped working 6 months ago. It's like the quantum particles themselves are changing behavior." In an emergency council session, the mood was grim. Representatives from 20 systems reported being cut off from their homeworlds as the communication network collapsed. "We must face reality," said Zhao Xin, addressing the chamber. "The quantum network was built with human theoretical physics that went beyond our understanding. Even as they operated it for us, we never fully grasped the principles." Chancellor Zex Toril, who had held power for the entire decade since humanity's departure, could no longer deny the obvious. His once proud posture now seemed deflated. "What do you propose?" he asked quietly. "We must send a formal delegation to Sol System," Chosen replied. "Not with demands, but with respect. We need their help." The vote was unanimous. For the first time in Council history, an emergency measure passed without debate or disagreement. Chancellor Zex Toril himself would lead the delegation. 3 weeks later, the Council's most advanced diplomatic vessel approached the edge of the Sol system. The crew grew silent as they saw what waited for them. The Sol system had transformed beyond recognition. Massive orbital habitats circled every planet. Energy collection systems formed a partial sphere around the sun. Ships of impossible design moved with grace between the worlds. "Life signs?" asked Chancellor Zex Toril, staring at the displays with all 6 eyes wide open. "Billions, Chancellor," replied the sensor operator. "They've expanded throughout the entire system." A communication came through, the first official contact from humanity in 10 years. "Council vessel, this is Solar System Defense. Please hold position for inspection." Within minutes, 3 sleek ships surrounded the Council vessel. They were unlike any human ships the Council members remembered. Elegant and advanced, beyond anything in Council space. After a brief scan, a new message arrived. "Chancellor Zex Toril, you and your delegation are cleared to proceed to Earth Orbital Station Alpha. President Martinez will receive you there." The journey to Earth took only hours, though the distance should have required days. The Council members watched in silence as they passed worlds transformed by human ingenuity. Mars glowed green with vast forests. Venus sparkled with cloud cities. The asteroid belt hummed with activity. Earth Orbital Station Alpha was a marvel, a spinning wheel 10 kilometers across, housing millions in an environment of beauty and abundance. The Council delegation was escorted to a grand meeting room overlooking the blue sphere of Earth. President Jason Martinez was a tall, dignified man with gray at his temples. He greeted the aliens with simple courtesy, showing neither triumph nor resentment. "Chancellor Zex Toril," he said, "this is an historic moment. The first official contact between humanity and the Council in a decade." The Chancellor, once so dismissive of humans, struggled to maintain his composure. "President Martinez, I come on behalf of the Council to request humanity's assistance. With the quantum communication network," Martinez nodded. "We've been monitoring its deterioration." "You knew it would fail?" asked Ambassador Clecia, scales shifting to a shocked blue color. We predicted it might, Martins replied calmly. The network requires certain adjustments that were not included in our documentation. Why? Demanded Zextoral. Why withhold such critical information? President Martinez looked at him steadily. We didn't withhold it, Chancellor. We simply couldn't explain it in terms your scientists would accept. You had classified our understanding of quantum mechanics as primitive superstition because it didn't fit your established theories. We were wrong, admitted Zextoral, his voice barely audible. About many things. The day after their arrival, Chancellor Zextoral and the Council delegation were given a tour of Earth's orbital megastructures. Dr. Susan Bowers, head of Human Scientific Development, led them through vast halls and laboratories that showcase technologies far beyond Council understanding. This gravity control system enables us to build at scales previously thought impossible, Susan explained as they walked through a corridor where gravity shifted directions without affecting their comfort. We've eliminated structural stress issues that limited our construction in Council space. Zextoral watched a demonstration where a researcher held a small device that lifted a 1,000-ton metal block with ease. 10 years, he said quietly. In just 10 years, you've advanced this far. Susan smiled. Without the Council restrictions on dangerous research paths, we explored theories our scientists had kept quiet for centuries. As it turns out, many of our primitive ideas had merit. In a medical laboratory, the delegates saw humans working on cellular regeneration. Patients with previously fatal injuries healed before their eyes. Our average lifespan has tripled, Susan told them. Disease is becoming a memory. Even aging itself might be optional within another decade. Ambassador Cliché's scales flickered between colors of awe and shame. We always said human medicine was impressive but disorganized. We were blind to its potential. The tour ended at an observation deck overlooking Earth. The planet gleamed with clean oceans and green continents, all signs of previous environmental damage healed. You've transformed your world, said Jozin, and your entire system. We focused on our own development, Susan replied, as we said we would. Later that day, the delegation met with President Martinez and the Human Council of Development in a simple meeting room. The contrast with the ornate council chambers was striking. Let me be direct, Chancellor, Martinez began. We know you're here because the quantum network is failing. We know your economies are struggling. Several council species face resource shortages that were unimaginable when we left. Zextoral's mandibles clicked in discomfort. Yes, we need your help. And what are you offering in return? Asked Vice President Laura Bennett. The same terms that drove us away. No, Zextoral said firmly. The Council is prepared to offer unprecedented concessions. Full voting rights, leadership positions, formal apologies for centuries of dismissal. Martinez looked around at his human colleagues before responding. Chancellor, we don't want to rule the Council. That was never our goal. Then what do you want? Respect, autonomy, partnership instead of patronage. Martinez activated a display showing a new proposal. Humanity will remain independent. We will establish bilateral relationships with individual species based on genuine partnership. We will help repair the quantum network and other critical systems. You would fragment the Council, asked Cliché with alarm. No, Martins replied. The Council can continue. But the days when it dictated terms to others are over. Each species must be free to determine its own path and forge its own alliances. Zextoral stared at the proposal. A decade ago, he would have rejected it immediately. Now, with communications failing across Council space and economies collapsing, he had no choice. The Council must vote, he said finally. But I will support this proposal. As the meeting concluded, Martinez handed Zextoral a small device. These are the specifications to repair the quantum network. Consider it a gesture of good faith. When the delegation returned to their ship, technical specialists examined the device with amazement. The solution is so elegant, one exclaimed. It's not just a repair. It's an entirely new approach that makes the system 10 times more stable. Zextoril looked out at Earth through a viewing port. In his long life, he had seen the rise and fall of civilizations, but never had he witnessed such rapid advancement. "We thought they needed us," he said to Zhao Zhen. "We never considered that perhaps we needed them more." "It's not too late," Zhao Zhen replied. "They're offering partnership, not dominance." "Yes," Zextoril agreed. "But the galaxy will never be the same. The power balance has shifted permanently." As their ship prepared to depart, carrying the quantum network solution and the human proposal, Earth's massive orbital stations glowed like stars against the darkness. The Council delegation was leaving with less than they had hoped for, but perhaps more than they deserved. The era of Council supremacy was over. The age of human partnership had begun. 20 years had passed since humanity walked away. The galaxy had found a new balance. The Grand Council chamber on Hub Station Alpha no longer served as the center of galactic government. Instead, it had been transformed into a museum documenting what historians now called the Great Withdrawal. Visitors from hundreds of worlds came to learn about the pivotal moment when everything changed. A young Vordani school group moved through the exhibits, led by a human guide named Peter Ross. This is the actual podium where John Miller delivered humanity's withdrawal announcement. Peter explained to the children, whose 6 eyes widened with interest. His words changed the course of galactic history. "Teacher says humans saved the galaxy by leaving it," said one of the children. "Is that true?" Peter smiled. "We didn't save the galaxy. We helped everyone realize that different perspectives have value, even ones that seem strange or primitive." In orbit around Jupiter, representatives from 32 species gathered at the Galactic Cooperation Center. Unlike the old Council headquarters, this massive structure had been designed with input from all member species. Its architecture reflected the unique needs and aesthetic values of each civilization. Inside the main conference hall, Sam Davis, Earth's ambassador for cooperative relations, listened as representatives discussed a new trade agreement. The Rigelian Mining Collective proposes sharing their extraction technology in exchange for human engineering consultation, announced the Rigelian speaker. "Our two approaches complement each other perfectly." After the session, Sam met with Kreenar, child of the now-retired Ambassador Clisha. The young Araxian's scales shimmered with friendly colors. "Another productive meeting," Kreenar observed. "My mother still finds it hard to believe how much has changed. She remembers when council sessions were mostly about maintaining the old hierarchies." Sam nodded. "Change wasn't easy for anyone. We're still learning how to work together as true partners." Across the galaxy, evidence of the new order was everywhere. Human experts worked alongside alien scientists in research centers. Alien cultural consultants helped shape human artistic movements. The network of relationships had become complex and interconnected, but no longer hierarchical. The old council still existed, but its power had diminished. Many species maintained membership for traditional reasons, while conducting their most important business through bilateral agreements with humans and other independent worlds. On Mars, a celebration marked the anniversary of humanity's departure from Council space. Veterans of the withdrawal gathered in the Great Dome of New Armstrong City. John Miller, now in his 80s, stood with Lisa Grant and other key figures from 20 years ago. "Did you ever doubt our plan would work?" a young reporter asked John. He smiled, looking out at the transformed landscape of Mars through the dome's clear walls. "We knew it was a risk, but sometimes you have to walk away to be truly valued." Lisa Grant, her hair now gray, added, "We never wanted to leave forever. We just needed everyone, including ourselves, to understand what true partnership means." On the original Council homeworld, a monument had been erected in the central plaza. It had become the most visited site in former Council space. The simple stone column bore a message in the languages of all known intelligent species: value all wisdom, no matter its source. Chancellor Zextoril, now ancient even by his species' standards, visited the monument each year. Today he stood before it, remembering his journey to Earth 2 decades ago, and how it had changed him. A human child approached him, looking up at his intimidating form without fear. "Are you really the famous Chancellor?" the boy asked. Zextoril lowered himself to the child's level. "I was once. Now I am just a student of history. My teacher says you helped change the galaxy for the better." The old Chancellor's mandibles clicked softly in what had become his version of a human smile. "No, young one. I simply learned to listen before it was too late. Your people taught the galaxy its most important lesson." As stars appeared in the evening sky, ships of all designs moved between them. Some human, some alien, many built through cooperation. The galaxy had not become perfect. Disagreements still arose. Challenges still emerged. But the old assumption that any one species held all the answers had been abandoned forever. Humanity had walked away, and in doing so, had found its true place among the stars.